sanitation workers strike. And so our parade, and it's not one, doesn't have marching bands. It's 175,000 of our closest friends marching together on that day. And when I think about it, that was just almost a week ago. But what was really amazing is we had our Dream Week. And I know for me as the author of the DREAM legislation, right, the in-state tuition, which by the way has been working very well for 12 years, it brought different connotations because on that Sunday, about 2,000 of us were at Antioch Baptist Church for an interfaith service. And it kind of looked like all of you. There was young people, there was those of us who were more mature, there were all ages, and there were all ethnicities and races and all faiths. I mean, they blew a Jewish shofar, and we had the elder in the Benai church do a prayer for peace, and it was Hindu, and it was Muslim imam, and our archbishop, and the Methodist bishop, and I mean, it was so powerful to see all of our faith leaders come together with a common, really, thread. And as I thought about maybe what you're doing, you're really answering what Dr. Martin Luther King said. And he said many, many prophetic things, you know, stuff that is on walls and on monuments. But one of the things that always has struck me is he said the most persistent question that still needs to be answered is, what are you doing in service to others? What are you doing in service to others? You're doing it. You being here, you giving your time, you wanting to up your skills, you trying to find out, how do we do it better? How do we get people engaged and motivated with a common goal that we can get to a better Texas? And we can do this by organizing and by that political empowerment, and about how much their vote means to actually participate in something that we call this representative democracy. And so for me, seeing all you today, you're answering that question solidly, emphatically, enthusiastically. What are you doing in the service to others? That's what this is about. This is about understanding where Texas is now, where we know our demographics tells us we're going to be, and making sure that we've got decisions to make that can make it better. You know, when I think about it, I'm pretty damn lucky. I'm a 6th generation Tejana, right? My family's been here forever, and that was the joke. We were in Maverick County, and we were here when it was Spain, and we were here when it was France, and we were here when it was Mexico and Texas, you know, the state of Coahuila and Texas. We were here. And we were here when it was the Republic. And we were here when we were in the United States, and then the Confederacy, and back to the United States. So for me, that 6th generation Tejana, our joke in the family is we've always been in the same place. It was the damn government that kept changing, right? Always in that border community of Maverick County. And so that is a story to be told. That is part of our heritage. But when you look at the lusciousness that we have, and let's face it, we have had amazing natural resources that Texans generation after generation have captivated and utilized for our economy, whether that was agriculture and ranching, and yes, the oil and gas, and now still continued. We've always captured that, but it is not that or the decisions of our leaders that makes Texas special. It's the people. It's the gente who lives here, who wake up every morning and they put in a hard day's work, and all they want at the end of the day is to lead a life of dignity. All they want at the end of the day is to have some sort of opportunity to say, mis hijos van a ser mejor. My children are going to have it better off than I have it. And that's what makes us uniquely American and uniquely Texans, right? We want for the best. But let's face it, our leadership has kind of abandoned us. They're more worried about the next election than about what's going to happen to our kids. And you get it. And that's why I wanted to come here to say thank you. Because you get it. You understand the power that one person can do. And having the right training, listening on how you could do this better and more efficiently will help all of us capture that Texas that we all know, that our children deserve, and for me, mis nietos, yeah, right? My grandchildren. And so I just want to say thank you for those of us who have been here generation after generation and have felt that this current leadership just doesn't get us, right? I mean, how bad is it when we've got an out-of-touch millionaire saying that teachers are paid fairly in this state? Or that, if we don't find a qualified teacher, well, we got a computer. I know. I went, did he just say that? Seriously? Seriously? Or that they're all spewing that the first thing they want to do is to repeal the DREAM Act, which we passed 12 years ago, right? Where are they? And when particularly those of you from Latino communities who are going to continue to work in those communities, que falta de respeto when they tell us that on the border we live in a war zone. They don't even live anywhere near there. They don't know our familias. They don't know. And nobody speaks up. But for me, the worst one was some sort of a forum or something. They were there, and someone in the audience said, because you know where they stand on immigration, right? They can't say immigration without saying illegal in front of it. And somebody in the audience says, you know, you can watch them. They're crossing the river. They cross the river like ants. And I thought, they didn't even speak up. They just called my grandmother an insect. They just called my grandmother an insect. And maybe your grandmother too. Or your tío. Or maybe even your mother or your father. They just called my family an insect. And nobody spoke out. The most beloved woman in our family, who only dedicated herself to her children and her grandchildren and her iglesia. That's it. And they called her an insect. And so I said, I'm not standing for this. I gotta speak out. I gotta join in. I gotta do it. And for those of you who know, my journey to this decision wasn't easy. We had horrible family losses this year. And I just didn't think my family could go through this. I didn't. After the loss of our infant grandson in May, and my dad, and then one of our beloved employees crossing the street, el tío de mi esposo, who was also his business partner, and then my mother-in-law in September. I just didn't think my family could go through this. I didn't. Because you know, Republicans, they'll tell you that lie about being about family values, but they'll come after your family. And I knew they were going to come after my family and me, and I just didn't think that my family would be strong enough, but I'm wrong. My family está tan fuerte that they have been so supportive, and they said, we have to do this. And so it is with so much pride and so much love and so much excitement that we know that we can do this. And that's why you're answering the question, what have you done in service to others, is so important. Because you're going to help us get and organize and work for those candidates in each of the areas of the state that are going to draw out the type of people who may feel that their voice has not been heard. The people that are ignored. And so I'm so thankful. I know many of you have already made sacrifices. And I can take of one in particular. When I did my announcement, Cristina, you were part of the group that were trying to get, and we made the decision so late, trying to get help from great folks at Battleground, Texas. They just kind of took over in the Texas Democratic Party because I had no infrastructure, right? I mean, I've been very lucky to be a state senator de San Antonio and be a legislator for 23 years, but I'd never tried a footprint outside my little comfort zone, right? And so I really called on people like Cristina to help put the logistics, put the stuff together, the announcement very quickly. And just like I returned to the Senate the day I had to bury my dad, because I thought if Wendy could see me, maybe she could get some strength, right? I hadn't planned on going. I thought maybe I'll do that. That's the strength that I saw from Cristina, because you lost your grandmother, and you came, and you did your work, and then you went with your family. So muchísimas gracias to put me and us at the same level as your family. So gracias, because I don't know if you knew that, but she absolutely. So, our potential is great. I mean, people get scared sometimes when they hear the demographics. You realize that there are 88,000 Latinos that turn 18 every month in the United States? It's not a question of if, it's just a question of when. But sometimes, I know that people in my community don't participate as much in the general election, okay? A lot of our communities, our Latino communities, the decisions are made in the primary, very much in the primary. And they really have not felt connected. And I don't buy this, that they don't care. And I can't stand the image. And you know, I've seen those political cartoons, like you've seen, right? When is the Hispanic sleeping giant gonna wake up, right? And it's that stupid cartoon of the guy with the sombrero and the serape. You know what I'm talking about? With, you know, kind of taking a nap. How disrespectful, right? That we're always for the siesta. I hate that picture. And so I don't think that it's that they don't think it matters or that they don't care, right? They care very much because they'll come out for their local school board elections and they come out for their local elections and they'll come out for the primaries when they know someone. But they're just disconnected because I know they care about their schools and their communities. They care about their families. But I'm telling you firsthand, when I go into the communities and when I say, you know, you need to vote. You need to. Ay, señora Leti, no me va a contar nada. Yo no veo nada. No me dicen nada. Right? And then let's face it, we've had some of our candidates and they come and they do rallies in our communities and they say things, you need to get your associates and your colleagues to go out and participate. We don't have associates and colleagues. We have vecinos y compadres y comadres, right? And so I can understand. So learning how you communicate and knowing our families, knowing what motivates us. And sometimes for me, and I've been a pharmacist for 33 years, I know that when I'm at the prescription counter and I'm trying to talk to Mrs. Rodriguez because she's not being compliant with her diabetes medication, and I know that, have to figure out why she's not. And then figure out how to get her to take care of herself. And I know, Latinas, we call it, you know, I'm looking at you right now. And those of you who have Latina mothers, right? I call it the burnt tortilla syndrome. Who eats the burnt tortilla? You know exactly, right? I always wondered why we grow up and always the females love the tortillas tostaditos, right? We love the tortillas tostaditos. You know why? Because we give the ones that are perfect and fluffy and just oh, they're so wonderful. We give them to our family. We give them to our children. We give them to our husbands, right? We give them to our abuelitos. And we eat that burnt tortilla. Because we've got this great cultural sentiment that nos aguantamos, right? We can withstand everything. Nos aguantamos. And que sea humilde. Right? It's a beautiful part of our culture, to be humble. Right? Our grandparents, our parents have always taught, ay, mijo, que sea humilde. Que sea humilde. Be very humble. Well, in that burnt tortilla syndrome, we are giving to others what's the best, and we leave for ourselves just what's left over. But if you understand that you can motivate somebody, like I finally got it. I finally figured out that I could get Mrs. Rodriguez to be absolutely compliant with her diabetic regimen Because I told her, tu nieta, isn't she going to graduate next May? Yes. I said, I know she's lived with you. She's so proud. I know she's so smart. She's going to college, right? Your nieta? See, and I said, are you going to be able to see her graduate? Si no te cuides. If you don't take care of yourself, are you going to see her graduate? And in our culture, the most important day is the day that, like my grandmother called it, el día del capingón. That's the day of the capping gown, right? My grandmother always said, ay, ¿cuándo va a ser el día del capingón? Because in every Latino household, what's the most important picture? Somebody with that tassel and that cap and the... Look in the newspapers, right? Every time you look in the newspapers, you go, oh, look at all these people. They're dying and they're so young, right? You look at the paper, it's all these high school pictures, right? Oh, they're so young. They're not young. They're in their 60s and 70s. That's the most important picture for our family. That's the most important. That's the level of achievement. El día del capingón. So when I have to motivate my patients, it's about finding what moves them and their love. And their love is for their children and grandchildren. So I know that you're going to learn ways how we translate our message, that it is imperative that they participate, because it's not about them. It's not about us eating that burnt tortilla. Es de los niños y de los nietos. It is about making sure that they understand what's at stake. And they'll do it. Maybe not for themselves, right? But they'll do it. So I'll leave you with one last thing. I know it's hard to step out. It was hard for me to step out. I know it's hard to ask folks, you do this, but do it with love. If you do it with a basis of love and respect, people will understand. And you do it with that love and respect. And then we get over the que sea humilde. I mean, que sea humilde is a beautiful part of our culture. Right? Don't be boastful, be humble. Be humble. But que sea humilde doesn't cut it when there's inequity in school funding and you're trying to fight for that. Que sea humilde does not cut it when you've got active discrimination that is happening in the workplace. Que sea humilde doesn't cut it when your leaders have failed to plan for the future. Que sea humilde does not cut it, so get over it. Get out there. Come with love and respect, but understand that our families mean way too much for us to remain silent and puros humildes. Muchísimas gracias for what you do. I love each and every one of you. Muchísimas gracias for the work that you are going to do for us. Cristina, gracias. And all of you, thank you. My sweethearts who have always. And I want to apologize because tengo a Servando Esparza. And he's supposed to be here, but he's actually working today. So we're going to another thing. So I know that he's going to try. You know how excited he was to try to be in this. He kept telling me, I want to be, right? And he'd go, I want to be in this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And I said, absolutely, do it. So, but I'm sorry, he's holding my purse. You know how you can tell a male staffer? You know how you can tell, I'm sorry, Zedonda, you know how you can tell a male staffer? All of the ladies there, sit down, all the ladies, they'll carry it, like a purse. My guy staffers, this is like a football. Muchísimas gracias. Y'all have fun and keep up the work. Gracias.